the snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, cva.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use, you can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kubi's Wild Game Processing and Kubi's Restaurant in Dallas, and Vineyard Max, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, it is time to visit with a good buddy of mine, Mr. Dustin Warncke. Now, Dustin wears many hats, but he's a media professional. He does all kind of stuff. But he's also privy to a spot in Llano County in Texas that offers quality day hunts. That's what we're going to talk about. Dustin, thank you, buddy, for being with us.
It is such a pleasure to be with you, as always, Mr. Luke, and you are one of my heroes, so I want everybody to know that on this show.
Well, you're a fine fella to say that. I appreciate that very much. But, you know, Dustin, when I was a young whippersnapper, I was about 25 years old. And this was about in 1975. Me and three buddies scratched up $184 a person, me and some friends, and we booked our first day hunt in Llano County. And I never will forget this. We had corned beef hash out on the camp stove. Even back then, I was kind of the designated camp cook, you know. And I was actually a guy named Herb Steeling. I'll never forget this. Well, he ran these day hunts, and I thought I had never seen that numbers of deer, Dustin, as there were in Llano County back then, and today too. I took a spike buck. I was 25 years old, shot him with a Marlin 336C. I remember Herb kidding me big time about. He said, "Here you come bringing a brush gun down here with no scope on it." he gave me a fit, Dustin, and but I shot the buck at 71 yards. I remember pacing it off. Anyway, day hunts. You are privy to some good day hunts in Llano County. Now, every week this time of year, I'll have 4 or 5 people call me, and the conversation will go something like this, Dustin. They'll say, "Luke, I don't have a lease, and I don't have thousands of dollars. I'm not looking for a 150 Boone and Crockett buck. I just want to hunt." And those places, like you're about to tell me about, are getting fewer and fewer. Tell us about the spot that's affordably priced down there in Llano County.
Absolutely. What's really interesting is back when I started selling hunts in, I guess, circa 2006, we had a whole thing with, basically like we were doing like $150 or $100 a day hog hunts. And it was just kind of one of those things. You got your hog, you left, you kind of did your thing. And it was mainly what I always called working man's prices for working man's hunting, right?
Yep.
And what I mean by working man's is things that are affordable for the family, for a father and son, for, people to just go out and enjoy the outdoors,
Yep.
And basically I, sat down with a friend of mine, Danny Dusick is his name, and he's a Facebook friend of mine, but he's also part of my fishing ministry, Crosswater Outfitters. And basically him and I have been in that ministry for a while. We do events for wounded soldiers and stuff like that. So he said, "Hey, if you're looking for a great place to hunt, there's a group on Facebook that you can join. And there's a lady by the name of Maggie that runs this ranch out of Llano, Texas. And, I looked up her rates, and it was $150 a day hunt."
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like the old school when I started in 2006. It brought back memories of the excitement I had just telling people about affordable hog and ram hunting, because that's all we had.
Yep.
Back when I started working with that outfitter back in the day, it was an old deer lease, but it had been shot out, and I basically just wanted to. So this property is called the Windowful Life Ranch. The lady's name is Maggie Wendell, And basically, so she calls it the Wonderful instead of the Wonderful Life. But basically, this is 489 acres, I think, or something close to that, about 400 and some change, almost 500 acres of low fenced Llano County. It's about 25 minutes out of the city of Llano, out of downtown Llano. And I went out there with my son at the time of this recording a couple of weeks ago, kind of mid, I guess, sometime in November. And basically just went out there and I even sold her some cases of Vineyard Max because, I was like, you've got to try this stuff out. I know that's one of your sponsors and one of Luke's sponsors I'm sorry, one of Larry's sponsors. And I was like, man, you really got to check this out. I told her all about it. It's all natural and everything like that. And we put it out, and we didn't see anything the first night. I let Jackson sleep in, my son sleep in the second night, or the second morning that we were there. And basically, he just wanted to shoot a turkey, So I'll tell you how this works basically on the day hunt side, okay? $150 a day. They have $25 primitive camping. And then, so you can bring a tent or an RV or anything like that and park on one of their spots. You need to load up with all your own electricity, charge everything like that, because it's primitive. There's not a lot of hookups. They're developing this thing, okay? And so, but basically, for $150, you get your choice of a spike or a doe, whitetail, and or a turkey, or unlimited pigs. Or during dove season, we're getting ready to enter late season, a dove hunt, for the day. And you could hunt if you wanted to all night for hogs if you wanted to. Her main rule is basically safety, 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 right? So basically, you've got to make sure that you're communicating with the ranch manager. His name's Tim, and basically, make sure that they all know where you're going when you're, to keep everybody safe. So that way nobody's in and out of a blind when they don't know who's transporting on the ranch.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And the other thing is that you want to make sure you try to stay out there, because being 25 minutes away from town, and I think it's on FM 2323, which is one of the roads that goes out of Llano. There's a lot of wildlife on the road, at night. And I've been seeing deer all over the place because the rut's starting at the time we're recording this, and basically, it's just like it's just wild right now. I'm seeing deer across in front of me all over the place. City, country, doesn't matter where I'm going. I've been traveling a lot lately. And it's just wild, And so basically they say, hey, we want you to hit a deer with your gun or your bow, not with your vehicle, So it's nice to stay out there the night before you start hunting, and that's very affordable.
Yep. Good. Well, so $150 now, and you can the spike or the turkey or the doe or the hogs. Now, as far as it's hunting. I mean, if you start trying to predict a hunt, you're it's a challenging endeavor. But are your chances pretty good of seeing deer there? I mean, on your hunt?
They are. So I'll give you a little bit of anecdotal story. Jackson didn't see a turkey where we sat. That's what he was after. But basically, we left corn on the ground. We put some Vineyard Max out, and the hunter I passed on the way that was coming in with the ranch manager to show him where the stand was. That was called the Twin Towers. Basically, there's a tree stand, kind of a climbing tree stand, and then an oak tree, and then there was kind of like a large stand that's on kind of a scaffolding that you climb up, and sit on top of. And so Jackson wanted to sit on top of the scaffolding. He did that. We hunted for a couple hours here in the middle of the day, just seeing if anything's going to move,
Yep.
And then he said, I had to get him back home and everything like that. So he had school the next day. So I headed out of there before the evening hunting time, about 3:30. About the time that I figured that they were going to put another hunter there.
Yep.
And I passed that hunter. I passed the ranch manager, and I said, guys, I said to both of them, I said, guys, that place is baited. I said, I've got corn on the ground, and I've got Vineyard Max all over the place. And I said, be ready, okay? And not too long after that guy got on that set, he shot a spike that night.
Oh, before dark. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but well before dark, before he really got settled in, he saw deer. And I can tell you that they're being drawn in from the Vineyard Max. Now, another unique place about this particular ranch in Llano, Texas, is I always call Llano. I've always heard it called, the gateway to the capital of deer hunting in Texas, whitetail hunting in Texas, as far as the capital of whitetail hunting. Now, in the hill country, that may be true, but of course, you've got Menard. There's a ranch I work with out there. You've got Bertram. You've got Burnett. You've got all kinds of different little Kerrville. You got all kinds of different little cities, and I love all these cities. They're beautiful little areas to visit down there and eat dinner, lunch, or breakfast or whatever. They're kind of like the restaurants down in that area are kind of like the grits and gravy and hush your mouth kind of places. Old school, like greasy spoon type places that really have down home cooking. That's one thing I love about visiting that area. And we ate at a place downtown Llano, and so I'll give my number at the end if anyone wants to ask me any direct questions about this. But it was some of the best food that we have had in the hill country, period. And my son said they were the best tater tots. They were better than Sonic's tater tots, he thought. So I was like, whatever.
Awesome.
He loved it.
Yeah, so. You bet. That's just a sideline to the hunt in the hill country. It's a lot of neat stuff to see. So
Absolutely.
People that are listening that are looking for a place to hunt, folks, I'm gonna if you happen to send me an email or whatever, I'm gonna send you to Dustin here.
Yes.
If you're looking for an economical hunt with a good chance of getting game in a beautiful part of Texas. So this is going to be where I send people. Do they call to book a hunt or for more information, Dustin? We've got a minute or so left. Tell me how that works.
Sure, you can just call me directly. My email, or I'll give my email and my phone number. So I've got a very easy email for people to contact me at, and that's Dustin@DustinsProjects.com. That's Dustin@DustinsProjects.com, 2 S's. Phone number is 512-497-7674. There's also some free-range aoudad hunting out there. And that's pretty affordable as well. And basically, it requires a little bit more of a deposit. But basically, if you don't get one the first time you go out, they'll let you come out another time for another opportunity. And like I said, the ranch staff is very friendly. Everybody is absolutely incredible. And the atmosphere, just hanging around the campfire, like you and Larry talk about all the time, on this show. It's just magical being out there under the stars, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
You bet
it's just wonderful.
Well, Dustin, thank you a lot. I think maybe some people that do not have a lease or that this is going to fill the bill for a lot of people. So thanks for being my guest, buddy, and thanks for producing our radio shows and everything you do. We'll get you back again, and maybe we'll talk about you or your son taking a spike or a hog, or maybe he'll get a turkey next time. Folks, how about that little intro from Artist Tubb there? This segment here is brought to us by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Doug's Jugs, maker of some awesome jug lines for catching catfish. That's online, DougsJugs.com. Well, folks, Texas, the state of Texas, is known far and wide as a place to come hunt exotic animals. And some species are more here in Texas than in their native lands. Now, our next guest is someone that knows a whole lot about exotics. He's in the business of supplying exotics to ranches, Mr. Dustin Warncke. Now, Dustin is he wears many hats. He's also a social media guru. He's got a company that promotes outdoor products and outdoor people. Dustin, I'm going to quit bragging on you and just say good morning to you, buddy.
Good morning, Mr. Luke. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. And I don't think I'm wrong when I say that Texas is people think about Texas, they think about hunting whitetail deer, of course, but they also think about hunting exotics of all species. Now, okay, so that's the focus of one thing I want us to talk about. A ranch, say a 10,000-acre ranch, exotics do propagate. They breed. There's a lot of free-range black buck antelopes. There's a whole bunch of free-range axis deer in Texas. There are even places down around Cotulla with free-range warthogs, believe it or not. I was talking to Larry Weissoon about that. I'd like to go get one of those. But anyway, the ranches, say they got a hunting operation, they have to, if they don't breed these animals, in which many of them don't, it's just not in the cards to do that, they have to go to someone like you, right, to acquire, say, a stock of black buck antelope on their ranch, or whatever, Pierre David deer, whatever. That's what you do, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the many hats that I wear, like you said before. And I would say probably the most prolific animals that run free range in Texas would be, because you mentioned axis and black buck, right?
Yep.
There's more of those in Texas than there are in their native homeland of India. And then the other one is aoudad, that are mainly in West Texas that run in free range. And there's just hundreds and hundreds in a herd of aoudad in places like Marfa and other places far, far West Texas. And so what happens in a lot of cases is ranchers and trappers and people like that are in my business will go and trap these free range and then sell them on the market. Places like Wildlife Buyer and Wildlife Partners has a website too, where they auction or they sell them, they kind of broker them privately through different channels, and that's the way that all works.
That's where that's how they actually acquire live trap, and like the audads, they are pretty well widely dispersed too. I mean, I know they were way out west for a long time, but there's free range herds of them now. But they're trapped and then transported to stock other ranches. That's how they get spread around, and that's how they become available for hunters, right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that myself and many other people do is find what the market price is, and we typically find that on an auction site, like I mentioned, Wildlife Buyer earlier. What they're going for, and then we sell them wholesale, and then a ranch would sell them retail as a hunt. And a lot of people wonder, how those animals got to that ranch. Well, Oompa Loompas didn't put them there,
Right, right.
It happened by a case of somebody, getting them off of one property. And another thing, Luke, is that a lot of ranches will get overstocked on exotics, and I've run into that situation a lot in the businesses that I work with, where they go in and will need a trapper to use a round pin or a helicopter or something like that, and I've done it all, to come in and basically, pull them off of that land, put them on trailers, take them to a barn, and then resell them to a hunting ranch for sure.
So that's actually another MOS, or another job, if you will. The trappers. Mm-hmm. I've got a good buddy that's a exotic trapper. Been doing it he's a retired game warden. He's been doing that for years and years. And a ranch, say a free range ranch, it could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be. But say a ranch out in West Texas that's got audads out the kazoo, too many. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're especially in audads, bad about dominating feeders and
absolutely
jumping up on top of them and everything else. But say they've got all these audad, well, why not put them to a value on an animal? Dollar value gives it worth. So why not, just like wild hogs?
Yes.
Why stack up 10 of them on a trailer and look what I kill, when you could trap these hogs and make money, sell them, and hunt them too. I'm all about. Don't get me started. Don't let me get started on hogs, Dustin, or we'll be talking about 5 hours.
I know, we'll be talking another episode. Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
we'll be blended. But the deal is that when there's a surplus, that there is a whole. These trappers, that's a whole different genre. These guys, they make money on wild animals too. I think that's all a good thing, very good.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was going to say too is that look at what happened with fallow deer years ago. I remember the days with fallow deers, you couldn't give them away. And now, I don't know if anybody else does this too, but I call them the new whitetail.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, they have the palmated antlers. They can be hunted year round. They're an exotic species, but they have a lot of characteristics of whitetail that people look for in whitetail. And they also come in chocolate, spotted, or white. And they have a lot of characteristics, but it's just kind of funny how, with everything happening in the industry, that was one trend that I never saw coming, that fallow, we couldn't give a fallow doe away. And now high genetic fallow doe that has breeding potential could go for $4,500 right now, if you believe that.
Is that right? That's unreal.
Absolutely.
The axis deer craze was strong, and it still is. Axis are a sought-after animal. Trophy and meat too, but I'd say 5 or 6 years ago, that's all you heard is axis.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've hunted them in free range and in some big high fenced areas too. It's kind of an interesting topic. A good friend of mine is Mark Billette. Mark owns B&C Outfitters, East Texas Exotics, and he's got a big parcel of East. They have 2,500 acres down there in Trinity County. And he was one of probably the first person to high fence hog hunts back in the mid '80s, back before that became a thing. Well, he was telling me the same thing, Dustin, that fallow deer now are in high demand. And he says, Luke, I'm going to tell you what, and he loves to cook like you and I. He's an outdoor cook. Mark said, I did a test. I had some axis steak and some fallow steak. And I didn't tell these guys. I just told them, I want you to tell me which one of these is better. He cooked them, grilled both steaks. And he said, they said, they'd all taste the same. It's just excellent. So fallow meat, and I'm all about cooking game meat. Fallow meat, to me, is as good as it gets, a fallow deer, so...
Absolutely. And I've got one customer of mine on the hunting side that calls axis deer sweet meat because it almost tastes like the meat has a sweet taste. And it's very interesting that you look at, something like an axis deer, and the whole thing's tender. It doesn't matter how old the buck is. It's just like, a young doe or, something like that, where the whole thing's kind of tenderized for you. It's like, God's meat, That's why I like axis. That's among one of my favorite meats.
It is. It definitely is. That's a big part of, I like the antlers on both, the palmated antlers on the fallow and the multi-branched antlers on the exotic. I've hunted them both. But when it comes right down to it, old Luke is after those steaks and the hound meat, the round steak, if you will, on these deer are. I don't know why they're that much. I've read a story one time, a detail on fallow deer, and the English ships back in the day used to load those up and take them. Yes, they would. They were. I'm not saying they're tame. I imagine you pin up any deer in a little pen, he'll get semi-acclimated to humans. But they could ship these deer on ships down in the hole, and they would put them on islands, places like that. And I guess even back then, people knew how hardy they were, and how tasty the meat was. We could go on and on talking about exotics. I tell you, a cool looking deer that last few years I've learned a little bit about. Is it a Pierre David deer? Pierre David? Yes. Aren't those cool looking deer?
They are. They have a very interesting looking antler set, that's similar, and I believe their origins are European. Am I right, Luke? I'm about 100% sure they're out of Europe somewhere.
Yeah, I think maybe I think maybe the British Isles. I'm not positive about that.
That's right.
Really
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Larry, we'll quiz Larry on that next week and make sure.
Yeah, that's one I'm not 100% sure on because they're not as common exotic. And really in exotics, you have two types of exotics. You have your commons and your supers. And the supers mainly all come out of Africa in that area. The commons mainly come out of Europe and India. And then the Manchurian Sika versus the Dabowski Sika and that kind of stuff. That's coming out of Europe versus Japan. Manchurian, China, that area, and that kind of stuff. So you have just a wide variety. And Texas is just such a melting pot of just wonderful opportunity for hunting. You will not find anywhere else in the world the diversity of exotics and the population of exotics of any caliber, than you will in Texas. So that's the thing I love about it.
It's a destination for sure. Dustin,
Absolutely.
I would like you to connect people with you folks. Dustin is not only into exotics big time, but he's I call him a guru. Anything to do with the outdoor promotions for websites and you name it. How do people learn more about you, Dustin? I want to. Man, you're a treasure when it comes to a lot of different things, but how do they find out more about what you do,
Sure, absolutely. I have a site called businesswithdustin.com, which is kind of my business website for Warncke Enterprises. That's my business that I do promotions, advertising, marketing, websites. I've done it all. I've been building websites, Luke, since the internet was cool. I know. Back in the 90s. So I have a lot of expertise in that, and social media promotion, video, podcast, TV show production, that kind of stuff. So businesswithdustin.com is one place you can find me, and then I just launched that website, and then I also have a website that's been out for a number of years called dustinsprojects.com. 2 S's, dustinsprojects.com. My phone number I'll go ahead and give as well if anybody wants to text or call me, 512-497-7674. And I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Folks, this is Luke. For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Air Gun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to air gun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramid Air. The website is PYRAMYD, pyramidair.com. They have anything and everything you need from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers to the accessories. Just remember pyramidair.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.